Right, should be live in a sec. If anybody can hear my dog scratching in the background. Hey everyone, hey, this is DeFi Talks with DeFi Dad. It's Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. Today we're gonna talk just a few minutes about a new option for launching tokens on layer 2. So lately I have been trying to think about topics that I think are getting less attention, topics that I think would help builders, investors, and evangelists in this space. And so in terms of DeFi, one of the most important steps to launching a protocol and ensuring that that protocol is decentralized, that you have a distributed that token to as many folks in the community as possible. One of the key steps is actually launching the token, which often is referred to as a token launch or an initial DEX offering. So today we're going to talk with Ross Middleton, who's the co-founder of Deversifi. Deversifi just launched the first launch platform for tokens on L2. By the way, full disclosure before we get started, I have been a strategic investor in Deversifi, so I hold their native token. That's not a recommendation or endorsement to buy the token, but just be aware of any bias I have in, of course, talking about Deversifi. On that note, Ross, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, appreciate the opportunity to talk about this really interesting topic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the way our conversation went the last few months was basically this allows us now to do a token launch on L2. We know that most liquidity over time, we believe is going to move to L2. We have all this liquidity that is already migrating to L2. So, my reaction, I think very genuinely was, wow, like, why are we launching then on L1? We should be, attempting to launch on L2. And so this is the first actual tool for doing that. But maybe, Ross, we should back up a second. Do you want to talk a bit about, like, just what are some of the challenges to launching on L1, or I guess what prompted you all to start working on this launch market?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. For the background, so we're Diversified, we're a layer 2 exchange, and our mission and what we're building is we want to make DeFi accessible to everyone, no matter if you've got a few dollars or a few $1 million. And to do that, we're creating what we're calling your layer 2 hub. So you can come to Diversify, you can do everything that you do on layer 1, all from one single place, and you're completely in control of your funds and you don't pay any gas. So you can move there now from Polygon, from layer 1 onto layer 2, access all the fantastic opportunities that DeFi has to offer, all from one place. As part of that, we have a governance token called DVF, and we launched this token a few weeks ago. And to do that, we wanted to have a way of launching it which is open and accessible to everyone. And at the time when we were discussing ways of launching a new token, you've only got one shot to do this. We were looking around at lots of different options. And last summer, there was an explosion of innovation in the space. There was lots of different launch pads and ways of launching your token, ranging from, just everything airdrop to sales where people were rushing in to listing on a centralized exchange. And none of that really felt right to us. We started looking at a few options and then quite quickly realized that all of the options we were looking at had one massive problem in common, and that was that they're on layer 1. And at the time when we were looking to launch a token, gas prices, which is the native unit that you pay your transaction fees on Ethereum, gas prices were at 1,000 Gwei. So for context, anybody who would have wanted to buy our token in our initial launch would have been paying something like $400 to $500 for a single purchase, which might be fine if you are a huge DeFi whale with lots of money. But if you are someone who just wants to explore, dip a toe, or maybe wants to do lots of smaller transactions, that is just not on. So we did a lot of research and decided to build something which would be very useful for us, but also something that we could open up to lots of projects in the space for anybody who wanted to launch a cool new DeFi token on layer 2 with all the benefits that we can go into.
Yeah, and I can speak firsthand to when you participate in a token launch, especially with like a DEX. I've been pretty unsuccessful in trying to do this so far, because you go there and you're basically clicking, trying to like set orders, and you're hoping to be able to, you know, get some of these tokens. But the problem is in many cases, gas prices will go higher. And then that's what we're referring to here as front running. So you have others that are submitting transactions at higher gas prices. And that assumes that you can even afford the gas. So for me, you know, if I'm at least willing to pay that gas, that's one thing. Totally prices out lots of other folks who just are not able to. And then from just like a technical standpoint, it's just difficult. It's just a really challenging experience to try to participate. And again, like if you zoom out, it's like, what's the goal of all of this? If you're going to do a token distribution, you want as many people as possible to be able to participate. You want those that, you know, have come to the token launch, who hopefully have done research and, you know, understand why they want to get involved. I mean, that sucks, you know, to have them sort of turned away. So anyways, what I pulled up here then is just, this is the launch market that, and this is having completed the first token launch, which was your own with DVF. Do you want to share your screen actually instead, Ross? And I'll, what we could do is just talk through a few more of like the major differences. Basically, like if you're building a DeFi protocol or you're looking to launch one, these are some of the things that I would consider as to like whether or not it makes sense for you to launch on the Diversified Launch Market.
Exactly. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep, there we go. We're all good.
So I guess maybe we should start with like, what exactly is a Diversified Launch Market, or DLM? Is that a good place to start?
Yeah. I think just from like even not even a technical standpoint, like I didn't realize until maybe like 3 or 4 months ago that when I transact on Diversify, when I trade on the exchange, I didn't realize the transactions were private. So it's not like it's not, you know, like what we're used to with DeFi, where, you know, if you know a wallet, that's it. I mean, once you know the address, you can see every single transaction where all money has ever been sent. This is different. You actually have the privacy of, well, I don't want to say a centralized exchange, but you have the privacy benefits of a centralized exchange without that counterparty that has access to all of your data.
So let's start it back. So what is a Diversified Launch Market, DLM? So in a nutshell, it's a way of launching your token fairly on layer 2. And the way it works is it's something called a continuous liquidity reverse auction. That's a bit of a mouthful. So what actually does that mean? Well, the continuous liquidity bit just means that at any point in the sale, which could be, you know, 2 days long, you can buy and sell tokens. So you're not just buying and that's it. You can resell your tokens back into this launch market. So there's good liquidity discovery. The reverse auction bit is the really interesting bit as well. The way this works is the price starts very high. So maybe something like 3 to 4 times the eventual price that you think the market might settle at. And it starts very, very high at the beginning. It quickly then drops programmatically. And at some point, over the course of however long the sale lasts, maybe it's a day, 2 days, 3 days. At some point, that price drops to a point where people start thinking, "Oh, this is interesting now. This price is kind of the price that I would like to potentially buy this token at." So the price has dropped, and at some point, people say, "Yep, I want to buy that token." They then use their funds, which are on Diversify, and they can then buy this token. And every time someone buys the token, the price is bumped up a little bit. There's a bit of slippage, which in itself means that there's protection from whales buying lots of the liquidity. Where every time someone buys, the price bumps up a little bit, and it means that eventual floor price goes higher and higher. So you can imagine this like nice smooth curve dropping and leveling off. And then at some point, it gets to a point where maybe it levels out. And that's probably a good point where buyers and sellers are equally matched. So people who are bought, they might even resell back into the market because they think, you know, the price has gone up a little bit. They're happy with that profit. But then at some point, if the price goes down too far, people will buy again. So you get this really nice price discovery, which has all of the benefits that that I'm about to go into.
Yeah,
so
actually, Ross, maybe because I know. So why don't we skip to you? Have that video of like the
yeah,
last, like, what is it, last few minutes of the
yeah,
DVF launch. That way we can show them. And then if you hit the in the far right, if you blow up that screen, there we go. Then we can show them.
nice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there we go.
So this is the last moments of our own token sale, the DVF token launch. So this is what you see on the screen. You can see it's got 2 hours remaining, and
Yep.
there I've just put 52 USDT in, and I get 13 DVF. I get a little warning that says, "Do you want to do this?" Hit confirm, and then instantaneously I've just bought that token. You can see in the top right hand corner here there was 500 participants, and then you can see lots of other stats about the sale. So yeah, this is the final few moments of the DVF token sale, and you can see it's a pleasure to use. There's no failed transactions. There's no front running. It's you buy at that price, it's done.
Yeah, yeah. In this case, so we're seeing. I mean, this is normal. If anyone's tried Diversify, you're trading on an Ethereum L2. So in this case, transactions settle almost instantly. You click the button, and then you see the placed order and swap complete on the far right there. The chart that you were showing there, is that chart showing the full time frame of,
it's a really good
token
question.
launch? Okay,
so,
yeah.
You know what I was saying before? I was like, the price starts high and then comes down. So we started our own DVF token auction at $2. So you can see here it started at $2. And then it dropped really, really nicely to sort of 1.6. And we were like, oh, this is great. This is actually a really nice price level. Then actually what happened is people started buying it as people found out about the token launch. And then the price started going up again. So what we thought was going to level out at about $1 ended up going up to about $4.50. But yeah, we could have started the auction off at $5, $6. It wouldn't have made much difference. We just thought we'd start it off at $2.
And like to be fair, it's still early days. Like I think we're all like we're excited about this potentially being a much improved experience for token launches. But I mean, that in comparison to what most of us have experienced with token launches, I mean, you're used to seeing prices spike. Sometimes, we talk about a token launch running out of tokens within 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah,
that is something. I want to clarify. Like it seems like many don't understand. That's not a good thing. Now, and again, I understand it's early days and everyone's working on some very challenging problems there, but it's not what we want. The end result is we want more to be able to participate, and so anyways, I think being able to get onto L2 here then, and like some of the points you're making here, wider participation, fair access, well, that goes with just the nature of using DeFi, being able to just connect your wallet. So that's something that is consistent, I think, with the initial DEX offerings that we know of. But this is different than the centralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges, in many cases, you have to KYC, and that is that limits a lot of people who are unable to participate.
Exactly, and it goes even deeper than that. So what is this technology? What is this DLM? What does this launch market actually mean? Like what are we optimizing for here? And I think this is a pretty good short list. So we're optimizing for really wide participation. What does that actually mean? Well, it means that anybody can participate, whether you've got a few dollars or a lot of money. It means that you're not having to be at a certain place at a certain time with specialist technology to be able to participate. You can sit there, you can wait for the price to come down to a level that you're happy with, and then you can buy. But it also goes wider than that as well. So like you said earlier, layer 2 is exploding. Lots of liquidity is moving to layer 2, and a lot of people think it's going to be the future because we're going to be living on layer 2. We might not even need to do stuff on layer 1 anymore. We've actually got a bridge to Polygon now as well, and there'll be lots of other bridges, so people can actually come from Polygon
didn't
onto Deversifi for zero cost. They can participate in a launch market for zero cost. So it's completely accessible. It opens your product or your your platform up to a lot more people. So if you're optimizing for lots of people and lots of community, then this is a good option.
Yeah.
And then the other interesting point we've already touched on, zero gas. So yep, you don't pay any gas once you're on the platform, which is fantastic because it means you can do 50 trades if you wanted to. You could do lots of smaller buying and it wouldn't cost you a fortune, which is fantastic. And then a point that you touched on earlier, which I think is really important, and I don't think it gets talked about enough in DeFi in general, is privacy. So if you participate in an on-chain token launch, everyone can see what you're doing. So if you've got a strategy where you might want to buy a little bit at the beginning and a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, people might have a look at your wallet and be like, oh, this guy's got more to buy. I'm going to try and front run him, or lots of other things. So everything you do on Diversified is completely private. No one can see what you're doing, which leads to lots more potentially advanced strategies.
Yeah, that is that's part of the reason that just using L2 here is exciting, because you're sort of checking off the boxes of I think all the things that make for a really shitty experience with other token launches. And again, I'm speaking to like my own personal experience, and I've walked away from quite a few and just said, okay, I mean, I guess it's fine. Like I'll have to just figure something else out. But if you think about anyone that's new to DeFi, if this is one of their first experiences, or at least this is early in their journey, this is the sort of stuff that like turns people off from the space. And so I'm excited about anything that's going to enable more folks to be able to participate. I'm trying to think of Ross, anything else there that we should be covering? We kind of talked through like some of the historical challenges with L1 launches, how the DLM sort of improves upon that. Could you talk actually? Well, I remember there's one more thing. During the DVF launch so the DVF being your native token for Diversify on the DLM, Diversify Launch Market, the L2 launch market we just showed. Can you talk about there was some whale that tried to start buying up DVF, and then how did that go down? What happened?
Yeah, this is really good. And you touched on this earlier about your point about front running. So what often happens with some of these on-chain launches is they're deliberately priced very low, or they're just unlucky, and they think they're not being priced low, but then they are. And someone comes in with advanced technology and buys up a fortune of the tokens, takes up all the supply, and then no one else has a chance to buy them. With a DLM, you start the price high and then it drops programmatically. So if you get somebody right at the beginning who on the very second it launches decides to buy a large amount of the token, first of all, they're going to get a huge amount of slippage from that. So they're going to be paying a fortune to do that. But also the price is then going to just drop, pretty much straight away afterwards, because no one else is going to buy at that high price. So what happened in our sale is I think someone came in and purchased something like $10,000 or $20,000 worth of token, like right away, or a few minutes later. And then what actually happened is the price then started dropping afterwards, and they ended up stopping out because there's continuous liquidity. So they can do that, and that might be a good strategy for them. Maybe they think that the price is going to go up straight away, so they buy and then they stop out. So there's lots of stuff that you can do with it.
Yeah.
One thing I think was really useful to touch on as well. We've talked a lot about the benefits for participants like us if we want to participate in DLMs, but there's the sort of hidden side to it that you don't see as a founder, which is if you want to run on-chain token launch mechanisms, it can be really, really expensive for you as a project. If you're having to continuously monitor, deploy contracts, bump things, rejig funds, it can cost you an absolute fortune. Whereas on Diversify, you can launch a DLM for free. There's no cost to it at all. You put your tokens on the platform, you run the market, and then if something happens, you can actually even pause the market if you want to. If there's a lot of confusion or something happens in the market, you could just pause it while you investigate. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do, and it's all customizable. So there's no restrictions that you might get on chain. You can change everything from the starting price to the duration of the sale, the amount that you want to cap each user at. So this thing is really, really powerful. And then obviously you've got all your tokens on layer 2. You've got a bunch of hopefully delighted users on Diversify. We then open up a market for you straight away afterwards. So you've got a market straight away, happy days really.
One thing I hadn't understood is, so like, would you talk about this as like creating a launch through Diversify Launch Market? Is this permissionless? I mean, like, if I watch this and I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? Like this makes a lot of sense, and I do some research and decide we're going to launch on Diversify Launch Market. Like, am I reaching out to your team? If I go to the website here below, how much am I able to set up on my own? And then also, like, can you have multiple token launches going at once, or is it always going to be like one at a time? Which, like, to be fair, this is all new, so I'm expecting we won't have this issue yet. But could you potentially have more than one token launch versus just one at a time?
You could do. We've thought a bit about this because some projects that we're talking to already, they actually want a much longer token sale duration. They want something like a couple of weeks, which might be quite interesting. So yeah,
that is interesting.
Multiple token sales going on at the same time. You could have one that's very, very long duration and one that's very short, for example. And to your point about permissionless, it's not something that you can just do by yourself as a project. We need to create the market for you. But that does mean we've got an element of sort of curation to the whole thing. So we will need to check that like the token's not security, that the team's reputable, because we're putting this in front of all of our thousands of users. So we don't just want to throw anything out there. But then on the flip side, it means that you've got the full customer support of Diversify. So if any problems go wrong, anyone's got any issues with wallets. And one thing which I thought was fantastic about the DVF launch, we had a lot of people who came from centralized exchanges who'd never set up a wallet before in their lives, which I'm quite proud of because we onboarded hundreds of new users potentially to DeFi. So we've got customer support there. We can put, marketing, and we can help you with that sort of thing as well. So it's more of a curated, curation is the wrong word, but it's more of a controlled launch where we throw everything kind of behind you.
How about once I launch? Let's pretend I've launched a token on the launch market.
DeFi Dad token.
Joking too. We're not going to do that, but if I did, let's pretend I did. Let's entertain this idea. Hey, if I was going to move my token then back to Ethereum, what is the delay time now for withdrawing? And then also, what is the time it takes to withdraw to Polygon? And then what other bridges are coming? I would imagine like with Arbitrum going live and others, like this is going to be, I can already foresee founders saying like, hey, this is great. We love the idea of launching on L2, but there's many L2s. So we want to be able to easily be able to move our funds to there. So yeah.
No, you're asking all the right questions. And these are exactly the conversations that we're having with project founders right now. Where should we start? So withdraw your token back to layer 1. So we use something called Validium, which is like a ZK rollup. So we put a batch on chain every 24 hours or under 24 hours, which means that even the slowest withdrawal requests take the maximum of 24 hours, but we do fast withdrawals as well. So as long as we've got some of the project tokens on Diversify, we can do instant withdrawals back to layer 1, which is what we did for DVF. So the moment you participate in a DLM, you can withdraw your tokens back. You can then deposit again. You can do whatever you want with them. If that's what the project team wants, the project team could also say, we're going to have tokens on Diversify, but we're going to freeze on-chain transfers. And this is quite common with new token launches, which is really cool because you could have a DLM on Diversify where the tokens only are on Diversify for a period of time. And then at some point, the project team says, okay, transfers are now allowed on layer 1. So they could do that as well, which is, again, flexibility. So you could do it that way. Bridges, we've got a Polygon bridge, which means that deposits and withdrawals are instant to Polygon, provided we've got the token, that project token in the bridge. We've got a couple of bridges upcoming as well. Can't say anything too much about them, but there's lots of bridges coming. And I think what I'm really excited to see would be something like Connext, integrating, or Hop. And then we can just have a really nice bridge ecosystem that moves all of the funds around different layer 2s. And lastly, to your point about project founders saying, can I move my funds to other layer 2s? Well, we thought that 12 months ago, we thought one layer 2 solution would take over. What's actually happened is layer twos are very fragmented. You've got specialist layer twos like StarkWare, like we're on, which is very low latency trading and all very specialist. You've got generalist platforms like Optimism and Arbitrum. You've got side chains like Polygon. So there's this whole ecosystem popping up. And what we've realized is actually we just want to support projects that are building on layer two. We put out a graphic yesterday. 162 projects are now launching or building on layer two, which is incredible to see. We just want to get as many people building on layer two. So if we can do a DLM on Diversified, get a bridge to Polygon, and then maybe a bridge to a centralized exchange, it just means that the whole thing flows really, really nicely.
Yeah. This is the future, is the ability to hop between layer twos and chains more frictionlessly. Like this is going to be a big development for us over the next few years. Geez, Russ, I think we've covered everything then. Where should people get in touch with you if they're interested to learn more about Diversifi's launch market, or just if they want to talk to you about doing a potential launch?
Yeah, well, we've got a buzzing Discord, so drop me a message on Discord or Telegram, and love to speak to you. And really anything we can do to help. We're just looking to meet really good DeFi projects and founders that we can help support in their launches.
Yep. Yeah. So, and folks can check that out at diversify.com. And then this is within the application if you want to check out the launch market. Well, Ross, thanks so much for coming on today. This is great. I'm hoping everyone gets a sense of this. And again, I think we all expect more token launches on L2 in the very near future, especially with all the liquidity that's moving there. And yeah, man, just keep up the great work.
Thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to speak more about what we're doing. Thank you.
Dude, absolutely, anytime. Yeah. For what it's worth, Diversifi was one of the few teams that was really building on the bleeding edge of L2 before I think it became a trendy topic. And so, it's cool to see you guys just continue to push on those frontiers. Last thing, everyone, just reminder, you can follow Ross here and Diversifi on Twitter. There was the link to their website again. And if you enjoy this or would like to watch more tutorials and interviews about DeFi, just subscribe here at DeFiDad.com. Russ, I'm going to end the broadcast and we'll be in a green room in a second. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.